Ladies and gentlemen, at this moment, nobody really wants to talk about this subject, so I'm going to talk about it, and I understand if it triggers something in you. Everybody's entitled to their own opinion, and technically, I guess their own facts, since it is 2020. We've had 115,000 COVID deaths in the United States since March, and since the middle of January, collectively, we've had 400,000 deaths across the world, with the USA definitely leading, the UK in second place, then Brazil coming on fast, and Italy got hit super hard, but their numbers are coming down. But definitely South America seems to be getting hit very hard. Now, it's been really, really, really weird, as our nation, the United States of America, has never been more divided. And so the messages have been absolutely mixed, where even at the beginning, the WHO said you didn't need to wear a mask, when data has showed that if you wear a mask and I wear a mask, the chances of anyone getting the virus are like 5%. And so for the first few months, the Republican team was very mixed in its messaging, calling it a hoax, saying it was no worse than the flu. At one point, Trump said that it would be gone by April. And then at some point he said we only have 15 cases and that would drop to 0 in no time. And now we have over 2 million cases. And so comparatively, in the 2.5, 3 months since the virus has erupted in the United States, we've lost 115,000 people. And the thing is, that's only like 3 months. And so the 1918 Spanish flu, we lost 675,000 people. So that over a 3-month span, over 2 years, that would be 8 3-month chunks. So that would be about, under the same way, if it continues as it's continued, that would be over 900,000 people in America who would die over 2 years if we handle it the way we've handled it the first 2.5, 3 months. And so COVID has a chance to be deadlier and more damaging than the 1918 Spanish flu if it lasts for another 1.5 years without any type of vaccine. And no matter, the brightest estimates have said that the vaccine won't be here for another 1.5 years. And so we have entered a very strange phase where it seemed like for the first, when it started, conservatives and Republicans completely doubted it, called it a hoax, or called it some giant conspiracy to hurt Trump's election chances. And then we had the murder of, was George Floyd, where police put the knee, which brought back up the 400 years of racism and oppression that black people have suffered since being brought over into the United States on slave ships. And so instantly, over the last week, since the 27th of the last month, you've had major mass groupings and protests at a time right after lockdown, and 40 million people, 42 million, have been laid off of work. And so even before, now we have like a 2-week lag on when you get infected to when you begin to show symptoms. And, this is probably right now, it looks like the fatality rate is somewhere under 1%. But still, if you lose 1% of Americans, that's like 3.7 million. And so it's definitely under that. But watching our whole nation change the whole face of everything we did just after losing 3,000 people in 9/11, to watch how we have reacted to this has been bizarre, to say the least, because we've definitely lost a lot of people. I'm pretty dang sure that it's absolutely real, and that my theory is that they were trying to trick both the Republicans and the Democrats into getting the virus. And so the numbers have been increasing since Memorial Day. Wow, the U.S. has recorded a 36% increase in daily COVID cases, rolling average of the last 3 days, according to the CDC document obtained by Yahoo News. And so we have no actual national strategy. We have no global strategy. And I think we're going to see what is a W-shaped recovery, where the NASDAQ is already back to record highs. I think that the other shoe is going to drop soon. And yes, I think before September that we will be back into some type of a lockdown scenario. And remember, right now, it seems like the Republicans aren't talking about it. The Democrats aren't talking about it. Everybody's sick of it. Nobody wants to hear about it. And so, as your planetary defense commander, I just thought it would be wise to remind people of what is probably coming. This is Kat Dennings saying, hey, Mayor of LA, did you see this? Los Angeles coronavirus update. Model predicts county may run out of ICU beds in 2 to 4 weeks as transmission rate is confirmed to be rising. For the third day in a row, Texas set a new record for hospitalizations. Texas has now seen hospitalizations increase 42% since Memorial Day. And so, no matter what, collecting data on this is sketchy. I know the president, or whatever you call it, of Brazil, like 2 days ago, stopped giving out any data and wiped all of his data sets completely, which is a very bad sign if you ask me. And so you can't really trust the number of people going positive or the number of people tested. The main thing you can quote unquote trust now is hospitalizations, and then the lagging indicator is the people who have died, which comes like 2 weeks after infection. And so this is the great pandemic experiment. We will find out if it's real, if it's a hoax, how bad it is. And technically, it's like the pandemic Olympics, because now Trump has announced he will restart his rallies, I think without any social distancing, on the 19th of June, which is technically Juneteenth, in Oklahoma. And, Democrats are encouraging people to protest and show how they are damn tired of systemic racism, which, hey, I'm anti-systemic racism as anyone. Jimi Hendrix is my favorite American of all time. But I just don't think it's wise during a pandemic. And when I try and talk about this subject, people accuse me of either A, being scared or selling fear. And I'm not scared, but I take calculated risks. It's risk versus reward, like I don't think wearing a mask indoors is that big of a deal. And I do think if our president would have come out of the gate wearing a mask, asking people to wear masks, we would have defeated the spread, knocked it way down to like 10%. We might be dealing with 10,000 deaths as opposed to over 100,000 deaths. But he said it made him look weak, so he didn't want to wear it. And then the people that he inspires who believe in him follow his lead. And so I wear a mask when I go into stores out of respect for other people. I've definitely reduced my going out. Like, I will leave the house. I think you saw on the night of the launch with SpaceX, I went and hung out with 2 friends who I was pretty sure had been good since the plague broke out. And so it's a matter of just staying informed and recognizing I have been anti-politics since I started THORnews. And so it does seem like the Wall Street, the street, the money men are trying to trick people into just getting herd immunity. And it just seems like a very dangerous, risky proposition, because I'm almost certain we're going back to lockdowns as soon as the end of June. I think that would take a horrible scenario, but definitely by September. And I think they're trying to get us to get herd immunity. And I do think we'll be dealing with this probably for another year and a half. And so the numbers we are going to see are going to be through the roof, man. And so here are the last 14 days. You can see cases. And like I said, cases sometimes can be a sketchy thing to use. I think hospitalizations and deaths are most concrete. But just in cases, the last 14 days, You can see California, Texas, Florida, North Carolina, South Carolina, Washington, Tennessee, Arizona, Missouri, Utah, Kentucky, Arkansas. And so, like, we are just in, like, 2020 has been like a giant battle. And you know that there has been a lot of deception all around. But there is no reason we should be doing this piss poorly. That, like, the United States has 377 million people living here and have 115,000 COVID deaths. And then, like, Russia has 147 million people. They only have 6,000 COVID deaths. And so that, like, we just haven't handled this well as a nation or as our political system. The Democrats stayed silent while the Republicans pretty much accused it of being a hoax or some type of thing just to hurt an election, which was 6 months away. So, what will happen next? Everybody has their own opinion, and it's going to take us about another month or two until everybody knows the truth. And so it's like I've been saying, I predicted at the very start of February that we would have major lockdowns in the United States in the middle of March. I said that time and time again throughout February and up until the lockdowns. And so, in that regard, I was 100% correct and gave everyone 6 weeks in advance to prepare for lockdowns that were coming. Now, I agree that locking down everyone will be much harder because we haven't done anything to solidify social safety nets or make sure that our supply chains are strengthened. And so the next 6 months are just going to be fascinating and dangerous on every level. And then the unemployment assistance that people have been getting, the extra $600 a week, expires on July 31st, which is going to set off a wave of people who already have a hard time paying for rent. And so that is setting up a major problem at the end of July, which is just like 6 weeks away. So like nearly half of renters aged 18 to 64 reported that they were having trouble paying their rent or utilities, were food insecure, or couldn't afford needed medical care. As we have a housing apocalypse coming as coronavirus protections are starting to expire. So reminder, in Texas, leaders have always said that they could use COVID-19 hospitalization numbers to guide policy decisions, not case numbers. Well, the hospital rates in Texas had widely been flat for nearly all of May. That started to change about 2 weeks ago. And so at the very worst day, we had 2,693 people die from COVID in a single day. And yesterday, or the day before yesterday, we had 1,093. And then yesterday on June 10th, we had 982. And so we have 147 days left until the election. If we average, which I'm pretty sure we will, at least 1,000 COVID deaths a day, that would mean that by the time the election rolls around, that 265,000 people would have died from COVID. And yes, it would mostly be people over the age of 60 or people with pre-existing conditions. But, this is the American spirit. We should all be working together to fight the virus with everything we've got, and for us to work together in these changing and trying times. And so with the protests, which mainly started on the 27th, but really built up steam about 5 days after, and then the post Memorial Day, I think we're definitely going to see by the middle of June. I mean, I would say look, let's say the 20th. By the 20th of 10 days from now, 2 weeks from now, the 25th of June, we will see probably back to daily deaths of anywhere to 1,500 to possibly 2,000. And considering that we locked down for all this stuff, that we could even see a higher daily death totals than 2,693. Now, I'm not trying to scare anybody, but as I've been saying all year, I would play defense and I would be smart. Although, like I said, it's the coronavirus Olympics, man. And now it's Democrats versus Republicans to see who can do worse with this situation. And I don't want you to lose your grandma, your dad, your mom, anybody. I mean, we had someone in Texas die from this in their 20s. It has some weird factors, and as you know, medical units are not always forthcoming with the information. I think blood type plays a large factor. I think sunlight plays a large factor. Heat. So I don't know. 2020 is a crapshoot, roller coaster. But I would not let your guard down on this, and I would not let your guard down on what I think is the second wave of lockdowns coming. Although, like they've said, our president has said, no matter how bad the second wave is, we aren't locking anything down. Although he's just the president, he has no say over individual states. And like it, no matter what, it seems like that Wall Street and politicians just want us to plow through to herd immunity. They aren't even that worried about a virus. I mean, a vaccine. And so they're just going to keep at it until we get to a point where we have herd immunity. And so we definitely, I'm pretty sure that by the end of the year, we're going to have a death total over 200,000, possibly over 300,000. And so, no, the pandemic has not ended, definitely, in my opinion. But this is like a subject where everyone has their own opinion. So we will find out more by the end of June. But COVID hospitalizations in Orange County, California are definitely on the rise, way on the rise. And I definitely think we're going to have major problems in 2 weeks. We had National Guard members from D.C. who tested positive after being deployed to deal with the protesters. This was a tweet from the vice president today where no one is wearing a mask. Everybody is standing very close to each other. And, of course, they put the one black guy in the room in the front. Oh, how awkward. Well, like I said, and now like Trump is talking about having his rallies. He's got like 4 rallies lined up starting on the 19th. And so it's just going to be the coronavirus Olympics. I would recommend praying, staying smart, wearing a mask indoors, and mentally, physically, and spiritually being ready in case the lockdown comes and they overcompensate for their own mistakes and mixed messaging. Now, this is not something you can blame just on Trump, though he hasn't helped at all. Both parties have been in it. And it's just a really weird, scary time, bro. And for the record, he deleted this tweet like an hour after he posted it. Because I saw it and was like, WTF? Man, things are just odd, weird, strange. And I think there's a chance at some point we could lose Biden and Trump to the virus because they are in that danger age range. I am overweight, so if I got it and I'm a smoker, I could go. I don't know. But like I said, it's a risk-reward world. So I went and hung out with 2 friends over the span. So if the right opportunity came, I would take some risks. But I don't know. I wouldn't risk my health or my family's health going to a damn rally or even going to a protest right now. And you can judge me for that. I think the protests have started to bring about some good things. And so it's just a weird situation. But, now the Democrats and Republicans are in the Wall Street COVID Olympics. God help us all. But as John Stokes points out, here in Texas, all camps are back on. They're indoors a lot because of the heat. Everything's totally back open next week. In California, in LA County, where cases are rising, they're opening all the way up. And you look at the ICUs are filling and restrictions loosening at the same time. The White House keeps minimizing COVID surge, saying it's due to more testing. In fact, Texas, North Carolina, Alabama all had record hospitalizations today. Arizona hospitals are nearing capacity. Not surprisingly, this comes 2 weeks after Memorial Day weekend. Some studies show that weather doesn't really help that much, but I definitely don't think the virus survives that long under hard sunlight. And remember, we kept the numbers pretty low with major never-seen-before lockdowns. So now we've pretty much blown off all lockdowns and worrying about it, and in large part, people wearing masks. So the next 6 weeks are going to be extra wild, man. And then there was a report that someone at the Tesla factory had gotten positive for the coronavirus. And so I just picked up my calculator and I just put in the numbers. And if we are going to compare this to the 1918 Spanish flu, which lasted 2 years, that if we've lost 115,000 Americans in 3 months, if you average that out over the next 21 months, we would lose 920,000 people to the coronavirus in the same span of the 1918 Spanish flu. So we would technically, 100 years later, lose like 30% more people than we lost during the Spanish flu. And so, as your planetary defense commander, I get nobody wants to hear about this. I get it's going to cause cognitive dissonance and it's going to piss people off. But it is my job and responsibility to keep you guys informed. And, I've been saying it would be best. I thought we'd have the whole summer to get ready for lockdown part 2. But with the way it's going on, I'm not even sure. I could see lockdowns coming as soon as July or August, depending on how bad these numbers come in. And hey, I would love to be totally wrong about this. It's best to prepare for the worst and pray for the best. And so, it would be great. I would, in my dreamland, it would be great to hook up with like 4 or 5 really creative people so we could at least make some really cool stuff over the next year and a half as the lockdowns go on and off. But I don't know, things are so crazy. I guess I'll just still be here in my foxhole. All right, this has been a THORnews report with a lot of facts and showing you that both sides seem to really not care about the average Joe getting it or they're losing their grandmothers or parents. And so, as I've always said, don't ever trust politics, man. They're both same sides of the coin. And they're like everyone in Congress, including the president, they're all like have millions and millions of dollars and perks that you and I do not have. So they're not always out for our best interest. All right. God bless everyone. Stay cool.